Welcome, welcome. So today is the last day in our exploration of practicing off the cushion on purpose, where I've been introducing things that we can do in our daily life that are a support for our meditation life, or we could even say an extension of our meditation life, things that we can do when we're not formally in a meditation posture that can really be a support for our mindfulness and our concentration and our practice in general without adding extra time or extra duties, but instead things that get folded into our life, whatever way our life shows up. So today we're going to explore this topic of listening. And we could even say so much about practice is about listening. Listening to others, listening to ourselves, listening to our inner life. So let's take a meditation posture, finding a steady, comfortable posture. And letting the body register support. That is the contact with the sitting surface. That could be with our back, if we're using a backrest or lying down. Feeling the contact. It could be with the back side, feeling the chair, cushion that we're sitting on, feeling that place of contact. The back of the legs, the feet. We're here. And we can feel into areas of the body that sometimes hold tension. The eyes, the jaw, the shoulders. We can feel into those areas of the body in which there is receptivity, or places where our emotions often show up. The throat, the chest, the belly, then resting attention on the sensations of breathing. Feeling the body move as it breathes. we'll hang out here for a little bit with the sensations of breathing, letting the attention gather and collect here. Mind wanders as it's apt to do. We just very simply, gently begin again with the sensations of breathing. Now let's open awareness to sounds. Nothing to do, just letting the ears receive sound. Letting sounds come and go without looking for them. Just hearing happening by itself. Now let's shift to listening, choosing one sound, any sound, and gently lean attention towards it and stay with this one sound for a few breaths. Notice how it changes, it fades. Then let that sound go and return to just hearing, just a passive receptivity to sounds. And then we'll do this again. Choose one sound and intentionally listen to that one sound, noticing its changing nature. So sense this difference between passively hearing and actively listening. This subtle shift that we do all the time. And then coming back to the sensations of breathing. Noticing how hearing and listening, more passive, more active, are just naturally happening. Maybe in the same way that we can control the breath, or sometimes let the breath be doing its own thing. And then sometimes with sounds, we can actively be listening versus just letting hearing happen. Just notice this shift back and forth between hearing and listening. What would it be like to listen to the gaps, the silence between the sounds? Okay. Bringing some movement back into the body. I'm not ringing a bell. Guess this is the bell. Maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, the shoulders. Thank you. Thank you for your practice. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome. I'm continuing this series on practicing off the cushion on purpose. Today is the last, the fifth one of this series. We're going to talk about listening. And I would say that listening is one of the unsung gems of the path, this path of practice. Listening is both a practice and a gift, we might say. And Mark Nepo, a poet and a philosopher, he writes, to listen is to lean in softly with a willingness to be changed by what we hear. To listen is to lean in softly with a willingness to be changed by what we hear. I just love this kind of this gentle way and using a little bit different words of what we're pointing to when we talk about this idea of listening. I would say that both being heard and hearing others are part of this path of practice. Many of us come to this practice seeking a way through difficulty. And along the way, we meet what we might say spiritual friends or community or teachers, and where we feel like we are heard. Or maybe it's just maybe with books, we kind of feel like maybe we're seen in some kind of way too. So literally or figuratively feel like we're being heard, but in a way that helps us relax and understand our dukkha, understand our suffering, and help us find our way forward from within our own experience. So in this way, being heard is a tremendous support for our practice. And we could say that, but if we don't hear others, then we can get stuck in isolation, in this way, in that we think that we're right. And then we kind of get to cling to views and ideas, and we miss so much of the good that the Dharma offers, the good of opening up some of our clinging that we don't even know that we're doing. So both to be heard and to hear others as a way to help us loosen up some of this ways in which we're holding on to ideas. And in this guided meditation that I offered earlier, I highlighted this difference between listening and hearing. So hearing is just this passive reception. We don't really have a choice in it. It's just, if our hearing apparatus work, then we just passively hear things. Whereas listening is more of this active, deliberate activity. We could say a way of placing the heart and attention intentionally. And we could even say that being sensitive to this difference between hearing and listening is itself a mindfulness practice and helps us to choose this way that we can be present instead of just drifting. Hearing versus listening. Maybe in the same way that with the breath, it just comes naturally. We don't have to choose to do it, but we can also choose to pay attention to the experience of breathing in the same way. Hearing, listening, seeing and looking. And this could be part of our mindfulness practice, is to notice how our attention kind of goes between these different modalities, you might say. So listening deeply to others, we could say being a witness to others, is a tremendous support, not only for our practice, but for other people, to be present for others, to develop the capacity to be in skillful relationship. And this way in which allows us to be permeable, allows us to be willing to look and listen, as opposed to just quietly waiting for our turn to speak. So in this way that we can really hear what they are saying, what others are saying, not just what we think they are saying, but to listen in a way that we can understand what is underneath the words. Well, what's implicit? What are some of the needs that are being expressed implicitly, or what are they trying to point to, even though it might not be so explicit with their words, but what are the emotions underneath? This is part of the way in which we listen deeply, is to understand what is not being said, but with words, but maybe is being said with tone or their bodily posture or something like this. So, for example, if somebody you're listening to is you're being like attentive and you're not being distracted, but maybe your friend pauses. And then you notice within yourself, like, oh, you're wanting to jump in and craft your reply, but can you set down that impulse and stay listening? And with this attentive listening, you might discover more of what the individual has to say, allowing the space for them to maybe express something a little bit deeper than what they had said before. So to choose this staying and giving attention as opposed to the distraction about what you want to say, this is a practice. This is a form of discipline. It's maybe requires ourselves to set an intention to just stay present and not be busy saying what to, or crafting a reply or what we want to do, because remarkable things happen when we leave space for an answer or a non-answer, a space for it to just arise within us, to emerge on its own. So, some things that can support this listening, this witnessing for others. 1, respect. Just trust their inner wisdom, the inner wisdom, and trust that they can find their wisdom in its way. And for at that time, letting go of the need to be heard ourselves in favor of entering the world of another. I'm not saying that we need to do this 100% of the time. This is if we're going to deeply listen and be present for people we care about, is respecting, trusting their wisdom, and we're just creating the space, the container in which their wisdom can arise. 2, some curiosity, maybe staying in their world, help us stay with the story. This curiosity fades when we're preoccupied with our own sharing, but can we just notice the impulse we have to jump in and wait? And curiosity is this way with our words, with our posture. We can just say, oh, I want to understand your world before I add my perspective. 3, embodiment. Let the body listen too. So can we have this posture of, attentiveness, and a way that we are checking in with our own body, our throat, our chest, our belly. And there's a way we might notice some quivering or some tightening or some softening and opening in these areas of the body that allows us to really maybe hear what's not being said, or for us to understand our own response to what's being said and recognize that some of our responses might be coloring what we want to say. So respecting curiosity, embodiment, three ways that which can help us to really show up and to listen to others or what they have to say, including what's not being said with words. So that, and then of course, listening to ourselves is part of listening practice, noticing our intentions. There's this way we can notice what's already in my mind. What's in my mind? What is my mood? What are my fears? What are my hopes that I'm anticipating? And if we're in a conversation with somebody else, notice that, well, am I prioritizing what I want to say or what they are saying? And just recognize that our intentions are rarely just 100% pure, and that's okay. But it's tremendously helpful to be listening to ourselves and to notice the usual pulls that we might be having, the wanting to help, being right, getting our way, to be seen as a capable, kind person, to stay comfortable. But these are often some of the intentions, the motivations that are underneath the way in which we are often showing up. Perfectly natural. But can we notice them and maybe choose some deeper intentions, not causing harm, being part of a solution, working together, being compassionate? Can we let these intentions like fuel and support our interaction with others? Because when we have this, how does this affect me, running the show, then we're more likely to interrupt or give advice. And that's not so much about deep listening. That's more just looking for an opportunity for ourselves to say something. So there's this way in which listening to ourselves, honoring and respecting what our experience is, and as best you can, choosing maybe a deeper intention about not causing harm, having compassion, working together with somebody instead of trying to always get our own way. And I recognize that not 100% of our conversations are going to be like this, but can we have some of our conversations be like this? And lastly, I'll say about generosity. Can we think of it as, lastly, about listening, can we think of it as generosity? Can we think of it as, Donna, a gift in which our attention is being offered to others without a lot of expectation? Because there's this way, the fewer demands we place on what we get from the exchange, the more benefit there is, the more there's an opportunity for something new to arise, something unexpected, which often comes from a deeper place, something beautiful that can arise when two people are really listening to one another. So this week I've been talking about practicing off the cushion on purpose. As a little summary, first I did this idea of curating our attention, being sensitive to what inputs we receive throughout the day, what we want to put in our inner gallery, so to speak. Next was noticing transitions, like being present for them that we are experiencing all throughout the day. And can we be embodied as we go from sitting to standing, for example, standing to sitting, or as we go from one room to the next? Just using these things we're doing throughout the day as little mindfulness spells to help us bring embodied again. 3, monotasking, this as opposed to multitasking. Instead of like doing all this task switching, which we do so often, it carries a cost that often we're not even understanding or appreciating at the time. But can we deliberately, intentionally choose to just do one thing at a time as best we can? And then yesterday was waiting well, practicing patience instead of this sense of having an idea of what should be happening and getting irritated that what we think should be happening isn't happening. Can we just be present for what is happening? And then today, this last day, was about listening, being present for others, being present for ourselves in a way that allows some connection, in a way that allows something beautiful to arise. So many of us feel disconnected. This is part of the reason why the chat here on YouTube and the 7 a.m.s is a beautiful thing, right? People, there's a little bit of connection there happening, but listening. So practicing off the cushion on purpose in these 5 different ways. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a delight to be with you this week. Thank you for your practice and joining me on this journey. Thank you. With deep bows of appreciation. Those of you who are interested, I have a mailing list on my website, dianaclarkdharma.org, or just a website. You can see what I'm up to with some of the teachings. Not everything I'm doing is on there. I'm still populating the events page and things, but it was just a delight to be with you all this week. Thank you. Thank you all.